Once upon a time there lived a king. He had a very large kingdom. Though he was a king, he had a strong curiosity and now wanted to learn about justice and fairness. So one day he called his prime minister to discuss this. He asked him to name the most famous teacher of justice living in his kingdom. When the minister mentioned the best teacher's name, the king ordered that the teacher should start visiting the palace from the very next day. The teacher was a wise and humble person. He agreed to visit and teach the king in his palace. 6 months passed like this. Like all good instructors, the teacher wanted to test the king's learning. The whole palace was eagerly waiting for the king's result. But the result was very bad. The king failed. Everyone in the palace was speechless. The king couldn't blame the teacher for his failure. His former students were all successful people. So, the king called one of the teacher's students, who, who was now a judge, and asked, "We both studied under the same teacher. How could you improve a lot and pass the test? And why not me?" The teacher's pupil replied, "I will ask you 3 questions. If your answer to those questions is yes, then you will know the cause of your failure to learn." The curious king was very interested to know what those questions were, and more importantly, the reason that made him fail the test. "The first question is," said the judge, "when our teacher comes to teach you, does he have to greet you before you do?" The king replied, "Yes, it is he who has to greet me, as I am the king and he is a subject." Hmm, all right. The second question is, when you sit down for the lessons, do you occupy a higher seat than our teacher?" remarked Richard. "Yes, of course. I sit on my throne and the teacher remains in his chair," replied the king. "I see. And the last question is, do you consider yourself the king and him as a subject?" inquired the judge. "Yes, the crown, the court, the throne, and the servants around me remind me of this fact." The judge then explained, "O king, teaching does not benefit those who do not respect the teacher." The king nodded his head and changed his thinking.